all these goofy people that don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, get them up out of here. Trying to post a job without the salary. What do you do when that person don't have the money?
You're working with me, and this is what I charge, and this is what's going to happen.
They going to get that house out of the contract. They're going to be so excited. They're going to go buy a car.
Freedom to negotiate and figure it out. As an American that believes in capitalism, I like more freedom for the consumers.
No, that's stupid.
Hey, more freedom. Let's make it messy. We're gonna win. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Ardhi Real Estate Podcast. I am your host and broker owner, Ryan Fagan, and today we are talking about the NAR, National Association of Realtors Commission lawsuit. Sounds boring. We're gonna make it fun and spicy for you guys. I don't know about spicy on this one, but we're gonna try. I'm here with our great panel again. What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
We got Danny Deals in the house. Danny
Back
Deals
again.
underscore on Instagram?
Underscore Danny Deals.
Underscore.
Back again. Find me on Instagram. That's where you can find me. Or danielcurtis.ardhirealestate.com.
Ooh.
Okay.
Click it.
There you go.
Find me.
We got Miranda back.
Yes, it is Miranda Wilson with Ardhi Real Estate. You can find me on Instagram at Miranda Wilson ____.
Oh, God.
You might have to add another one.
Oh, I don't know. It'll pop up.
It'll pop up after.
All right, so let's make this topic digestible. Real estate is having the biggest change in the last 30, 40, 50 years probably, if this goes through. So bear with me a little bit. I'm going to try to summarize it and keep it short and keep it understandable. National Association of Realtors, which pretty much most real estate agents are bullied into being part of. The NAR is going to be upset if they hate us, but whatever. You have to be part of this organization basically to get access to a whole bunch of real estate things that you need to operate as a real estate agent. And they got sued by all these people selling their houses saying, why the heck am I paying the buyer's commission? And so this was going along for a long time, and now there is a settlement on the table that has to be approved by a judge. So it's still pending, but I don't see any reason why the judge wouldn't sign off on it. So, and I'm not a lawyer, I have no idea. But the big takeaway from this is that in the MLS where agents are looking at properties and are able to they normally, if you represent a buyer, if you work with a buyer, they will be able to see what the commission offered to the buyer side is. So normally, when you list your house, you would agree to, say, a 6% commission, and maybe 3% of that is offered publicly to the buyer's agent to incentivize them to bring their qualified buyers to look at your house and potentially buy it. The settlement, the biggest part of the settlement is, well, number one, NAR is paying $418 million, although they're not admitting any wrongdoing, but they're still paying. But the big part is that you will no longer be able to broadcast to the buyer's agent a commission to incentivize them to come. So if you guys don't know, generally in real estate, you're going to have a listing agent who represents the seller. So they are supposed to get the seller the most money and do whatever the seller wants them to do. If they want to sell the house fast or whatever, they're a fiduciary for the seller. So they're supposed to put the seller's interest above their own as an agent. And then you have a buyer's agent who represents the home buyer, and again, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the buyer, and they're supposed to act in the buyer's best interest, get the house at the lowest price, negotiate, protect them in due diligence, all that kind of stuff. And so the way that real estate has been working is that buyer's agent sees, oh, this listing has a 3% commission, so I'm cool with showing the client that property. But now that's no longer going to be there. So the question is, how is real estate even going to work right now, and what's going to happen with buyer agency, and what's this going to do with consumers? Do you guys think I explained that well? I don't know. Hopefully,
I think you did.
Yeah, I think you did.
You want to fill anything in, or
You said something, a hot topic, and I'm gonna.
I said a hot topic.
Yeah.
Go right for it.
So you brought up the fact, obviously, as a agent, we have to look out for our client's best interest. And I was just thinking about it. I'm like, well, there goes your in, right? So, like you said, if you can't post the fact that they're offering a buyer's agent, like a co-op fee, whatever the case may be, which is fine. If you have a house for sale, and my job is to have your best interest at heart, and I'm bringing my customer to you, if I were to put in the contract that, hey, I want this, and I give the best offer, and you don't present it to your buyer because I want this, are you looking for your seller in the best interest?
Right. That's where this weird stuff happens, because the interest of the agent can get in, because commission can get in the way of the transaction.
Right.
So
that's
what's
what I'm
going to
saying.
happen? I don't know.
Your hand is kind of forced at that point to give it to your seller.
Well, you have to present all offers.
Right.
That's why you have a commission agreement, though.
So going back to Miranda's point up front, if we put it in the information up front that, hey, listen, we will try to obtain XYZ from the seller in our contract when we rock with the buyer, then by the time that we present that offer, it's kind of like, what you gonna do? Put up or shut up?
Well, that's the problem, right? So if I'm a buyer's agent and I am trying to negotiate commission from the seller, that's a negative for the buyer, because then they're gonna not want to do it.
Why? What if I present the best offer?
And
True.
the seller does want to sell their house, right?
They do.
And you have to look out for your seller's best interest.
Right.
So are you going to stand in the way?
That is a good
seller?
point. Yeah.
I feel like with this lawsuit, I feel like in this settlement, I feel like these people were not explained like how it worked. Like, didn't your agent come to you and talk about, how the commission works and what's being done before you agree to it? Because at the end of the day, you signed a contract with that percentage on there. With that usually says that you have understanding of what you're about to pay.
I'll tell you what. Here's why it's a problem, because it and this gets legal, but it gets to the Sherman Antitrust Act, right? Because they force you to do it, even though it's a contract. There's not really an alternative option, right? So, like, yeah, you could list your house and not offer a commission to the buyer's agent.
There's always for sale by owner.
Yes. You're not really forced at all.
You are forced. If you're going to work with an agent, you have to comply with this system.
There's
But you
multiple
already said
agents.
if you're going to work with an agent.
Yeah.
You don't have to work with an agent at all to sell your house.
But they have a monopoly on the MLS. So that's the argument with. That's why.
Right.
But
About
you can
posting
actually
the
pay
commission?
you can pay to get your house on the MLS
You can.
without an agent.
You can.
So all I could say with that is that's why they had to settle, though, and that's why they were losing the lawsuits, is because it's anti-competitive behavior by NAR is what the judges were finding. That's why they settled, because otherwise, so if your argument won, they wouldn't have had to make this change, and that's the issue, is that it's uncompetitive. They bully you into having to do it, pretty much, or good luck with for sale by owner, and then you're stuck on this alternative way of selling your house, which is because here's the thing: different brokerages are working with each other, and it's not a fair market exactly, because they're working together and not competing. Right? For example. If Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint and all the telephone companies got together and said, we're going to all raise our rates and not lower it below this amount, that's against the law. It's an antitrust issue.
Yeah.
So if X real estate company, because I don't want to use names, and B real estate company communicate with each other, saying, hey, we're going to operate like this, so that we can make sure that commissions are stable, that's anti-competitive.
But I feel like
And
the
you can't do
brokerages
that.
are still going to
Yeah.
do that in some way with this new settlement, because now you have to figure out how it's going to work for the sellers and the buyers with this big change. So what's going to be done? Are we still going to offer buyer side, commission, or providing that commission up front or at settlement And I feel like people are going to start going with the waves of the motion and how everybody's doing things, and it's just going to create a system that everyone's kind of sticking with.
I think they will try to come to a system. I think that the thing that they're trying to solve for, and I don't know if it's the solution like that works for the consumers, but what they're trying to solve for is that things need to be more negotiable, right? So if I'm a buyer's agent and someone wants to buy a house and they're trying to deal with me, they have the ability to negotiate with me as an agent. And I think before, everything was so standardized that there's not much negotiation, even though when you go through training, and that's why they harp on that, oh, it's negotiable with the 6%. But is it really like that? It's the only game in town.
But how? Like, so my thing with this is, and utilizing the deal that I'm working on right now, is off rip. She posted on there that was 2.5. I understood that, right? But as things got into the weeds and we started moving forward with the offer,
bring the mic a little closer.
I began to ask, like, hey, listen, what's up with this XYZ, whatever that may be, whether there was the MLS fee of the 150, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And we talked through that together to come to the proper, understanding and, ultimately move forward with the deal. But at the end of the day, like, I feel like the real issue is a buyer's agent can go on, jump on the MLS, see, okay, go out 3% or 2.5 or 2%, whatever. Say, okay, that works for me. And show them the house, keep moving forward, already understanding that that's what you're supposed to get. Boom, call it a day. Now, a buyer's agent is going to have some type of sales experience and a little bit of savvy with them to be able to negotiate and have that conversation with the seller. Now,
that's what they want. I think that's the goal here, right? Is that you have to have these, they have to be more organic and flexible in the conversation.
Unfortunately, not knowing where that number lies up front, you don't necessarily know where you can start with your negotiation. So if you don't know that that's 6% on the table, the seller kind of has the ability to say, "Oh, it's 4%."
But that's what they want, a free market, and the market is okay. So it's messier, I think, and overall, I think it's probably bad for buyers, especially in this environment. But this is America. And everything's negotiable, and you should have options. And that's what they're trying to get at.
But my thing is this, right? So if I'm a seller's agent, I'm selling your house, and I talk to you, we work out 6%, right? Cool. Then, talking to the buyer, whatever case to be, and I say, hey, yeah, we're giving out 1% here, blah, blah, blah. And that's just what it is, or whatever. And I'm trying to negotiate past that, and I don't know where the money starts. I don't know where that percent starts. You still have that in the back of your pocket. I have no idea where it is. So again, that goes into
that's how everything else is sold, though. That nature. If you're selling a car, sure, there's a blue book value, but I mean, people can sell their car for whatever they want. There's no or I mean, a car is different, but like, say, I don't know, I'm selling this camera, right? What's the starting point? You'd have to look at comps and stuff like that, but there's no like thing in between the buyer and seller that gets in the way. And I think they want it so that you have to negotiate. But I think the result for consumers, and hopefully you guys are able to follow, but if you have questions, put them in the comments and we'll talk about it more. I think what's going to actually happen, well, I don't know. Sorry, I lost my point there.
I think I'm just going to go into every interaction as if they already getting 6%, and I'm going to start at 3, and I'll work from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
And that's just going to be what it's going to be. And until you tell me what percent you got, then we just going to have to keep it pushing. And at the end of the day, I'm going to work through it, in the best interest of my client for sure. But at the,
Well, how can you show a house if you don't know if you're going to get paid?
That's the conversation you have to have up front. You got to set the
with
show
the buyer.
Yes.
Or do
That's
you
why
want to
contracts
With
up
the-
front are important.
Yeah.
So
You have to get it in writing and under contract up front. This is my fee.
right.
It's just like the buyer agency contract. You're working with me, and this is what I charge, and this is what's going to happen.
Right, I agree, and I think that's the solution. Is I think a mix of Prince, get down. God, this dog. Anyway, I think this is what I'm landing on right now is a retainer fee for the buyer's agent.
Mhm.
Convincing someone to pay that, we could talk about,
Mhm.
and then having a percentage at closing minus whatever I can recoup from the seller side. Meaning, if you're a buyer, Agent X is going to say, hey, I need $1,000 to start representing you and helping and being a fiduciary for you. And at closing, I need 2.5% of the purchase price. I am going to make my best efforts to collect as much commission from the seller as possible so that you don't have to pay the total 2.5%. But whatever I can't get from the seller, I'm getting from you, which in turn is going to make, if a buyer has to pay that 2.5%, it's going to make their closing costs 2.5% more than what it is today. Now I'm seeing arguments from agents and things like that. I mean, maybe the house is 2.5% less because the seller side's paying less commission. Right? So maybe the price comes down a little bit, but it's just like restructuring who's paying. My issue with that is money out of pocket is a lot more impactful than money in the purchase price.
Mm-hmm.
So saving 2.5% in a purchase price for most first-time home buyers doesn't help them as much as saving $5,000 out of your closing costs.
Mm-hmm. So this is my issue, right, with the whole thing. It's like, all right, think about it like advertisement marketing, right? Super Bowl, okay? We own this company, all right? The Super Bowl doesn't necessarily own the fans, right? But they are working with the fans because they do the marketing to the fans. That's their audience, right? If you want to get a piece of my fans, you have to pay X amount for a Super Bowl commercial. That's the name of get coming into the game. But in return, you're more like Yeezy dropping that video clip from his phone. He made a shit ton of money back after paying $7 million for a 30-second clip from the audience that it provides. Think about it in the seller to buyer thing. You are marketing your home to buyers who are represented by another agent. For that person to bring the money to you, you have to put money out to get it. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, that is what's going on. The seller's agent, not for nothing, but the seller's agent, what are they really doing? In a sense of the marketing side to the buyer. Putting it on an MLS?
Right. Yeah.
Put it on the MLS, take some pictures. Other than that,
That's
when
true.
it comes to showing the home and this and the third, they're not doing none of that.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But that's why sellers don't want to pay 6% to them because they.
But you're not paying it to them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The seller, you're
Right.
not paying money to the seller's agent
Yeah.
all the way around.
Right.
You're paying for their service, whatever that is, more than likely 3%.
Yeah.
And then you're paying another 3% for the other person to bring people to your house.
And this is the conversations that need to be had with the sellers that I think aren't happening. I think people are presenting this 5%, but they're not diving into why it is at this percentage. If we're having deeper conversations with our clients and we're having them understand the process, then they would be more willing to spread that out. And then they have the knowledge behind it rather than just thinking, oh, I gave 6% for this person that I didn't hire. Like, no,
Right.
that's not the way it's going on.
It's ridiculous. If I'm going to buy a house, I got to get a loan. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So in my loan, there's a cost for that loan, which we pay commissions to that loan officer based on the loan that we get.
Right.
It's an entry fee to get into the game at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Period, point blank, period. That's what we got to do. So if I'm going to list a house, if I want to sell my home, it's an entry fee to go into the game. It's 6%.
If
On
I
the day, 4%, whatever. That part is negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the seller's agent shouldn't be able to just have complete control over what that percent looks like. That's ridiculous. That's the bad part.
If I sue you, why should I pay for your attorney? That's their argument. That's the seller's argument. Why am I paying for the other side's representation? But here's why it's different. I understand. I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit. What the seller is actually paying for is to have qualified buyers come to your house.
Exactly.
Also, the agent is with them when they show the house. So that's a convenience.
Yes, they're walking them through their house.
Yes.
They're respecting their property. They're
Right.
making sure nothing happens while that buyer is there.
Like, it could get real dangerous in there.
It could. Yeah.
Well, so people think, oh, I'm just gonna sell. Like, okay, I'm gonna sell my house on my own as for sale by owner. The problem that you're gonna have as a for sale by owner is you don't know how to vet the people. Sure, they have a pre-approval sometimes, but what does that mean? You're not gonna know how to execute through the contract, but you're gonna have, especially in this market, your phone will not stop ringing. Because when you're for sale by owner, any unqualified buyer can contact you. You're going to have a million people contacting you, wasting your time. You're going to run home after work, allow showings. Then, weird, smelly people are going to come through your house. They're not even qualified, wasting your time. You might not even know how to vet an offer, so they give you an offer and you accept it. Now you're stuck under contract, and there's no way that buyer is even able to close, and now you're wasting your time that way. So the value proposition obviously is there. I just think we understand how it works, but probably the audience here still probably kind of is confused about how the commissions get paid. And I'm telling you, because Miranda, you keep saying, well, you have to explain it. I promise you, I've had clients, I have explained things 7 times, and I'm good at explaining things in layman's terms. No one wants to look like they don't understand something, right? So they will nod their head and say, yeah, I get it, and then sign a contract and not ever understood what happened. At closing, this happens all the time. People, the title agent's like, oh, this is for blah, 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 and explain it, and they just say, okay, and sign it. They don't know what they just talked about. Just like if a contract, back in the day when I first started flipping houses and I dealt with a contractor, he was telling me I was using 3/8 sheetrock for this, and I need a PEX for that. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, cool. I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm nodding my head. That's what most people do. So you can explain stuff to you're blue in the face, but people don't really get it. And obviously ignorance is kind of their fault. But I don't know. There's like a line where as a professional and as a fiduciary, it's just a higher level of requirement on our end.
I wish there was a standard, or in this ruling, I wish they came down with there's a standard of a 50-50 split between sellers and buyer's agent, regardless of what their percent is.
It's anti.
No. Listen to what I'm trying to say. If I'm a seller and and I understand, hey, listen, you're my agent. You're my seller's agent. Hey, listen. I'm cool with giving you, let's just say 6%, just throwing it out there. I'm cool with giving you 6% to get my house sold. I need my house sold. So whatever you have to do with that 6%, go get it done. Right? Cool with that part. The opposite side to that is now, okay, if you want to be greedy as a seller's agent, right? And you want to just say, hey, well, listen, to get this done, I got 6% on my hands. Here, I'll just give them 1. What benefit does that offer me to go out and bring my clients to you?
Yeah, but you won't know that. This is the whole problem.
Right, but that's I think that's the bigger issue is that the money isn't put on the table for what is spent on getting this house sold. Like it's like you're kind of saying here's your pot of money. Keep it in your pocket. Don't tell anybody who who's going to be involved of actually getting this house sold, how much you got. But if you can get it done with nothing coming out of your pocket, great.
That is what it is.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when I'm doing literally everything. Honestly, everything. You can't. I honestly, it's
the buyer's agent does do a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Do you know that if you sell your home, the seller can't obtain the CO?
Well, what are you saying?
They obtain the CO. They cannot get any proof of the CO. The seller has to, if they agree to get the CO, the seller can get it, but they can't get the CO. They can't get the record of the CO. The buyer has to get it when you're selling a home. So to get the record of the CO, the buyer has to call the county to get the actual CO paperwork.
That might be a specific count. That might be a
Yeah,
specific
COs are
county.
very specified to like
Right.
where they're at, so it just depends.
Well, I'm just talking in my particular situation because it kind of fired me up today. But in Camden,
I was
let's
going to
say,
say, was it
Camden?
Camden County? Because
Camden.
they try to make everything difficult.
Just burn Camden down, honestly. I'm sorry.
But guess
because
what?
it's not like it wasn't like that in
So-
West Effort.
My agent,
Camden,
my seller's agent was like,
burn
I can't-
everything.
I can't get my commissions unless I get the CO paperwork. Well, guess what, baby? Let me get 0.5 more. You want the CO paperwork?
Negotiation.
Right. You
Yeah,
want the
exactly.
CO paperwork? Because that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be ticky-tack across the board.
That's what they
Yeah.
want.
for no reason.
Yeah.
That's America.
It should be streamlined. I'm working with whoever the agent is. I'm working on my end. We're splitting this up 50-50 on what we need to do. You have your due diligence of what you need to do for your customer. I have the due diligence of what I need to do. Boom. Once that's done, get to the closing table, shake hands, keep it pushing. It's business. But they're not trying to do that. They're trying to allow room for
have to fight
the
for
seller's agent to be able to sneak in and duck and hide the money. When the money's coming from the seller, it's not coming from the agent. Why is that person in that much control of what's happening with the money?
So let's talk ramifications for consumers. I think the way it shakes out is that the buyer is going to be mostly responsible for paying their agent. Will they do that is the question.
Why should they do that is
Yeah.
the question.
Because it's your agent.
I understand that's their agent, but they are trying to buy a house that someone really wants to sell.
It's easy to sell. That's that for
Not
now
all-
in this market.
No. It's not always easy to sell.
What?
So if these
A ham
sellers
sandwich could
want,
sell a house right now. I'm
if
sorry.
these sellers want to sell their house, then they have to be more appealing to the buyers.
I
That's
want to
period.
talk to somebody that bought a house without an agent.
It's going to be okay. So ramifications. It's going to be a disaster for people who they have. See this thing. People have money. They just allocate it messed up because they have enough to pay an agent. I'm telling you, they do. Even the brokers people, they really should. Because if that's the case, how are they paying for a home inspection and stuff? And people that are trying to skip that, unless you're a contractor, you're crazy. You're messing up.
So Ryan, you telling me if I have a buyer to go buy Miranda's property in Blackwood right now,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna have $13,000 just to hand over to me?
No.
Sure, because that's 3%.
No, they will have a retainer, but then through the mortgage and negotiation and everything else, they should have. Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, will you
Exactly.
will you have the ability to negotiate the same deal that you had to do before they made whatever that ruling is? The 3%, can you still negotiate to get a 3%?
Yes, you can
Yeah.
negotiate
Yeah.
it. The
Wait,
diff-
so they just took rules away. So now it's just on both parties. You have more freedom to construct a deal.
what's been
That's what
taken
it seems
away
like.
is that the amount that they're paying you is no longer listed,
So you
and-
can't see what you're going to get up front.
and that provided stability where people would work with buyers and not have a problem showing pretty much any house because there was always an advertised and you knew what you were getting up front without having to negotiate. Now you're not going to see if they're
Who's
even
not going to see?
The buyer's agent.
Yeah, so Kev, if
The agent or the consumer?
so Kev, if I'm working with you to buy a house, okay, I'm looking in the MLS and I'm like, here are the houses.
Wait, who are you and who am I?
I'm the agent and you're buying a house. I could show you basically any of those houses listed what they were going to pay me.
Oh, so if you're trying to find a house for your buyer, you don't know what they're going to pay you. So you're like, you might get screwed and show a house and it has a bad deal on it and now you don't get paid.
Exactly.
Right. So if what happens
But
in
you
the-
have to show all the houses?
well,
because that's
I don't know. What's going to happen in the meta now is if the listing agent doesn't offer any commission, I'm going to have to get it. How am I getting paid? I have to secure something through the buyer, through an agreement with the buyer saying, hey, if we find you a house, you got to pay me this much, or if the seller's willing to pay it, they can pay it. But
So you
somebody
have
got
to
pay me.
construct that before you start looking for the house.
If
or after?
when
With the
you
buyer.
when you sit down with me and want to hire me, I have to have that agreement in place. Otherwise, I could show you a house and get nothing at all. You see what I'm saying?
Well, so it just seems like more of an open market where
Yes.
you can negotiate things, and
Correct.
if you're a better negotiator, it's in your favor. If
But-
you're a better businessman.
But here's what the difference is: the buyer never felt the commission because it was coming from the seller side. So now, if you have an agreement with your buyer's agent, like Danny's saying,
But
how
it
are,
used to come out of the seller side. Does that mean now
The-
the seller gets a bigger percentage of the deal? Or
Yep.
depending on what the agreement with the seller's agent. So the listing agent used to get 6% and then offer half of it to the buyer side.
so now they could potentially get the whole 6% based on
Or
the
they
way
would
the
say
deal is?
3% and then tell the buyer side, kick rocks, figure it out yourself, tell the buyer to pay you.
Which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Big fact, especially in the case like I just said.
Yeah.
Who has
And then-
13,000 to just put out of their
Yeah,
pocket
and then
to buy a house?
I know.
God forbid they put 20% down.
So
yeah, exactly. And
Wait,
then
does that
Ryan,
change
you
the
said
way-
like
Does
that
getting
change the way-
$1,000 up front from a buyer. Like, what about the agents that aren't requiring that? They're automatically going to go to the agents that are. Well, this agent is not asking for $1,000 up front.
But you're setting
Sorry,
yourself. But that buyer's agent might set themselves up for failure because you show that you have a buyer's agency agreement, but you're saying I'm going to get the commission from the seller. If the seller ain't offering nothing, then what?
How can I do my job if I don't have a job?
That's why you need to secure your compensation.
That doesn't secure it.
Why not?
Because at the end of the day, just as an example, you might be contractedly, you might be contracted in a sense where, okay, we
Right.
went up front and I said 1,000 and then 2.5%, or whatever that remainder is between that, if I can recoup it from the seller. Okay, well, what if the seller doesn't give you it? What if the buyer still can't pay it?
That's
Then
the
what?
problem.
You gonna take them to court for
Right.
them buying a house?
Now
How
we're
does
going to
that
have
make
even more
sense?
lawsuits go.
Wait a
Your
minute.
own
I
client.
feel like this is good for everyone except a bad buyer's agent that don't know how to do a business deal.
I agree,
'Cause-
to some degree. No, it's okay, Kevin.
And
here-
wait, hold on. And no one's talking about. You guys aren't talking about the way that it changes the way the seller positions himself as well. Because you could be a super aggressive seller now and say you just want 5%, and y'all need to go figure that out. No,
Yes, they could do that.
you could do that.
Right, they can.
But they
And
could
you
even do
have
that now.
dusty, desperate beginner buyers, and you're just leave them scraps.
The agent, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can have someone that just won't deal with you and won't bring you their buyers because you're not offering anything.
Exactly.
Right. That could happen too.
And then that's the
I
bigger
feel-
problem, because
yep.
the biggest problem is if a house sits on the market, your seller's going to have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be great for me to go ahead and sign these contracts with you and wait to the right point to pull out just because I can.
True.
Wait, but well, I guess this is a circle now. But the buyer has to still present the houses though, based off would you say the fiduciary duty or whatever?
Yeah, that's like
That's messed up because now they're in a position where they have to do something.
well, that's why your agreement with the buyer's agent agreement with the buyer has to be equitable for everybody. Otherwise, none of this works.
But it doesn't. It won't.
But
Not that it won't work
well,
anyway.
what Danny's saying, which is right. So if you're gonna get a commission, if say you agree to 2.5% from the buyer, you get the house under contract, and now the difference of the buyer's commission is what's killing the deal. What do you do?
What do? You kill the deal. That's what you do.
But
dead.
as a fiduciary for the buyer, how can you kill their deal?
you say, yo, finish this on you.
Exactly, because they already knew up front.
They did know. But how many times do you get all the way to the end of a deal, and then the only thing to sacrifice is a bit of the commission to make it work?
That's different. That's on me.
But that's essentially what happens, except for it's not a little bit, it's $12,000.
Exactly. That's my point. My thing is, if you are giving a percent to put your house on the market, you are putting your name in the game based on the percent that you put out. So
Right.
that percent needs to be available to any and everybody that's dealing with the house. So if that means that it only comes available once we go under contract, then that's cool as well. But in that moment that it becomes available, then that's when a negotiation has to start. And in that negotiation, if you don't go to where we need to go, and I can't fulfill this contract for my buyer, then the contract's null and void, because I can't fulfill that 2.5 that I put on my buyer's agreement. So it's dead. Like,
It's tough.
Well, I
It's
think it
really
also
tough.
could be a really good thing because now you have some room to create leverage for yourself as a buyer's agent.
Yes.
Because you can do things. You can be more precise with your numbers and offer better deals or less good deals, and it's more skill. And
So that
You
is
mean
what's
as-
going to happen.
is that, you mean as like expand on that as far as the buyer's agent is concerned?
if you're the buyer's agent and there's no locked in, like it seemed like before that deal was like you said, streamlined, where that just was the deal out of the 6%. But now there's more room to be creative and position yourself the way you want to position yourself to get more clients, because you could offer, you could be willing to take less and maybe do more volume of sales than the competition of other agents, or you could be more greedy and require more and maybe provide more, better service, but you get more money in X, Y, and Z. Versus before, it seemed like there was a very standard deal that the buyer's agent would do, which basically just kind of made you a commodity. But now you have room to create more value or less value, or get more money or less money.
Kev, that's very sharp of you to have never heard of this and to pick up on that, because that's my big takeaway is that, again, for the buyer consumer, I think it's going to be difficult for them. But for the buyer's agent, I think the top 10%, the top people that are smart and create a good perception of value and are able to like navigate through this, they're going to be able to provide their clients more value, and it'll be more valued because they're paying for it. So I think that good buyer's agents can really kill it, because right now you could pick any buyer's agent. They show up, they turn the lights on, and they don't really help you that much negotiating, and they don't really know a lot. But the buyer don't care because they're the commission. They're not paying the commission, so who cares? Now it's really going to matter who you pick if you decide to pick somebody. That's the problem. They probably might opt out. Or I think attorneys might pick up some of the slack, which I do not want to see, because I don't mess with them.
That's I can see that going.
But Kev, the way the numbers work is why it's bad for buyers, because there's a $12,000 closing cost that's getting added if it's 2.5 or 3%, or what,
Which
like
will
depending
kill
on
the deal.
how
in
do you
many
work,
cases.
how are we working that in the deal? Now, some of that can get wrapped into the mortgage, but for example, VA, you can't roll commissions into a mortgage. I think lenders might change their rules. Like there's too many variables, and other variables depend on other variables to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Miranda, what's
Yes.
up? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, if it hasn't been broken for the last 30 years, why are you trying to fix
You
it?
can't put it back. It's so we got.
Why are you trying to fix it?
I like the free market. I gotta say,
I don't even understand how you're saying that free market in the sense of like, okay, are you saying free market in the sense of because the seller can choose not to pay 6%? Is that what you're saying? They could choose
Yeah.
not to pay 6% right now. What are we talking about?
they can choose it, but the system makes it so that they almost can't choose
How?
it.
No, it doesn't.
No, it does not.
You're saying
Why?
that
Just because
you
your
feel like
brokerage-
they
yeah.
don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but
If-
most people do.
If you put 0 in the co-op, you will get no showings.
That's what they're doing by taking it away.
Exactly.
No, you'll still get showings because you don't know that it's
You'll
0.
get showings, but as soon as you mention that you're not giving anything, people are going to kill the deal.
When your client likes the house, are you just gonna stop the client from buying?
You're going to
the
ask the
house?
client, how am I going to get paid? And the client's going to say, well, then maybe we should see another house because I don't know how you're going to get paid.
Wait, I have another point too. If you're buying a house, I feel like you're just a person and you don't know anything. So how the heck are you going to take part in structuring a deal? Like, I think it's a blind spot you guys have. If I went to buy a house, I'd be like, how do I get a house? And now you got to like construct a deal with a buyer's agent.
Well,
You
the
know what I
agent
mean?
should be doing that for you. That's the thing, is that's going to have to get worked out. Switch the camera. That's going to have to get worked out between the agents.
But the seller's agent isn't doing anything, but they're holding all the money.
They have the listing.
That's my problem.
Market yourself better.
So you're monopolizing the listings.
Market yourself. No, because anyone can get the listing.
No, what I'm
But you
saying
market
is you're
yourself
monopolizing.
better by offering commission to the other.
No, you get listings. This is the thing.
So then everybody needs to be a seller's agent, is what you're trying to say. And
No,
no
I
one should
think
represent
I think buyers agents can excel if the buyers feel that the buyer's agent is worth paying
What is
for.
the buyer going to have to do if there's no standard set? You've never in history of buying homes had a standard set where a buyer is paying for the agent's cost of doing business. It just wasn't there ever. So now with this ruling, they're trying to make that a thing, which in turn is going to mess up a lot of deals because even on the structure of the deal, not even structuring it with the seller itself, but on the mortgage side of things alone,
it's a mess.
How are you going to do, come on. If a person who, first of all, the average person isn't getting approved for a $400,000 house. It's just not the case. So when it comes to middle income, single family homes, those people aren't just walking around with an extra 13 to 15 to however many thousands of dollars to pay you at a percentage of the overall price of the thing. So now you're saying to me that a buyer's agent is devalued more than a seller's agent. So a buyer's agent really doesn't matter. The seller's agent is the one that does. When the seller's agent is not doing anything.
They got the listing.
Just because you got the listing doesn't mean you're putting the necessary things together to work the deal. You cannot work a deal if you don't have a buyer. So, okay, host some open houses. Great.
Yeah, exactly. Get some people looking at it.
That might happen.
Get those offers, but when it comes down to it, if you're not offering that commission on the other side,
Right.
most buyers they're not gonna want the deal.
The listing agent might be part of the fallout here. Is listing agents going to have to work more? I don't know.
A listing agent literally can sit back with their feet up.
I didn't make
while
the
buyers
game.
agents are just bringing buyers left and right, this and the third, and then they
Then he's
also have
pissed at the listing
because they
agents.
still also have the money in their hands. That's like holding a steak in front of me and saying, "Oh well, you can't bite it," and then if you do bring somebody, I'll give you the smallest piece I got.
That's what they're doing.
I'm bringing you the money.
Look.
How are you holding money when I'm bringing you the money? You can't get money without me.
Don't hate the player, hate the game, bro.
But that's why it's so stupid. The ruling is dumb.
I have a question.
Because
I agree.
So before it all came out of the seller's commission.
The seller would have it's negotiable, but they would have a 6% commission. We'll just say, give me my camera, and the agreement would say in the listing agreement, and we are going to offer 3% to a cooperating broker. Then,
Well, you would get to put that percentage.
yeah,
in
you
there.
could put whatever you
So-
want in
Wait,
there.
so
yes.
the seller would have in their thing that they'll give 3% to a buyer's agent. That was like the
and that would be in the MLS, so every agent could see what was offered.
okay.
And they are taking that away where you can't see it. You could still do the same exact thing. You just can't broadcast it in the MLS.
So that can't be like your marketing strategy, basically, or whatever. Not marketing strategy, but that can't be.
It just has to be independently negotiated with every agent that proposes that they want to see the property, essentially.
which again brings
Which is
an
madness, because if you're looking at 10 houses, are you going to negotiate 10? That's not going to happen.
issue. Come on. Like, it doesn't make sense. If you own the NBA, an NBA team, you own the Sixers, right? And Miranda's the #1 draft pick. I'm her agent. I have the draft pick. I'm bringing you the money. I'm literally bringing you the money.
Yeah.
So if I'm bringing you the money, you got to pay. Like, what are we talking
Or
about?
I'm just going to go to another team that's paying
Doesn't
more.
make any sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all. That's like,
And it doesn't matter how much you like
you're
that
not cold
team.
calling trying to get buyers to come to your house.
I don't think the NBA says though that there's a fee required to pay the agent, right? The agent has to negotiate with the team. Hey, if I bring my person here, here's my agent fee.
Right.
And they could say, no, we're going to pay you this much.
Well, technically, when the money gets distributed, it comes from the player's contract.
Right.
So
that's negotiated.
That's negotiated with the player.
Right.
And it goes back into what I'm saying.
But it's an open negotiation.
Huh?
It's an open negotiation versus it being already set and put. Like the agent fee isn't like tagged on the player when they're looking for them.
It is.
No, it's not. It's between the player. That's the buyer.
No.
Or
the
the
player
seller.
is the seller is what I'm
Okay.
trying to say to you. The
Right.
buyer is the team. So you're the buyer. I have my player, right? I'm on his contract.
But that's between you and the player.
Hey, listen, when I get you this money, I'm going to get this amount. Okay, great. And they go get the money, and then the money
But
is
the agent could go
dispersed.
to the team, the buyer, and say, I want 1% for my agent fee from you.
Yeah.
But it's not broadcast. It's not written somewhere. That's the issue. Look, America.
I'm not worried
This
about
America, damn it.
I'm not even worried about it being broadcasted. That's cool.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm
the
more
essential
so-
problem, is that by it being written, it standardizes it in a way.
If it can't go on the listing, it has to come from somewhere.
Right.
If that means when
So
I
you
go
have
on
to
the showing
negotiate it.
time and I book the showing and you accept, that conversation needs to be happening right away.
So you're going to have 10 conversations when you show 10 houses.
Right. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, do it. It's more work.
And guess what?
It's
If
more
you
work for the
don't drop
buyer's
the
agent.
bag, I'm canceling the showing.
No, it's
immediately.
good though. More
I'm
work
saying that
means
your
more
house
room
is
to make
messed
some
up.
more money. You can do more things.
You can't. You don't have control over making the money. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you have more control over
You
making
can
the money
negotiate.
because
Seller
has
before
to
you
They're
were,
gonna wonder-
you were monopolized into that stupid one standardized deal that the big boys do that you can't mess with. So now you can.
No, the seller has the bread at the end of the day. The name of the game is not trying to put more of a cost onto your buyer. So the seller's paying for the entry.
And that's where it's
So-
messed up.
No, you said that's the name of the game though. But now that it's not like there's not a standardized way, now you have flexibility to maybe get some of the money out of the buyer and then maybe structure it and get some from the seller, and then you do things like that. So now you can do more things to provide better service for better or not better service.
So I'm with you, Kev. I think though, I think we're jaded by the market too, because it's such a seller's market. If it was a buyer's market, right, the buyers would like it more. Which is actually good, again, for it to be a more open system, right? But right now, the buyers are going to get screwed because they're going to have to pay more. Like,
Right.
there's no way around it. The buyer is going to have to pay more. So it hurts the buyer now because sellers have so much leverage. That's why you're hating listing agents. But which I don't see this happening anytime soon, but if it ever becomes a buyer's market, now the listing agents are going to have to accommodate you more. And look, practically right now, I think it's when you send 10 emails or 10 phone calls to negotiate this commission for the buyer side, 7 or 8 of them people ain't going to even answer the phone. That's the problem.
7 or 8 of them ain't gonna get shown either.
Exactly. It's going to drop their showings.
And that's
True.
what it's gonna be.
Okay. But
Because you hold the keys. I'm just trying to see if the key works. Does the key work or does the key not work?
I
You
gotta
tell
say,
me.
as an American that believes in capitalism, I like more freedom for the consumers and options and negotiations. But the blind spot and the issue is we do care about the buyers, like Danny's saying, and when you guys are looking at it, you're like, the buyers are getting screwed. And I think the way the market is now, you're right. There's no way around it.
Because this is my thing.
But
If I'm a
it's
seller's
America.
agent- If I'm a seller's agent doing a listing presentation, and I say to them, "Hey, for marketing this and the third, blah blah blah, this is my fee," and I say 6%, you robbing the seller blind if you don't get a bread up to bring people to their crib.
Yes.
You're robbing them blind,
And this is America.
and they're allowing that. But when it comes on,
They agreed to it.
what do you mean? That's the whole problem with the whole thing now is that, oh, well, it's, this is like they're allowing it to even get more messy by not putting in there that you literally are showing the seller, hey, some of this money is going towards bringing people here. You're literally taking that out and saying, yo, I don't know what this 6% goes to.
Some of the things that I think about
to be determined
when I'm looking to get into a career that I didn't like about real estate was that I felt like you're actually kind of just a commodity. Like
that's why I do like the ruling. Yeah, I agree, Kev.
It feels like the whole thing is if people, and I guess it's probably a thing on social media and stuff too, where the real estate people are just people that they like you. Like you don't really have a skill or anything. You like people just like you, but now it seems like they added a threshold of skill that needs to be had. Because I always looked at it, I'm like, bro, you're just a commodity. You can't even create any leverage, like to do anything to make more money. It seems like you could be a bit capped.
You can, but it's more now with the ruling.
Yeah.
And that
I think the seller's agent is a commodity.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I'm a seller, to be honest, I might as well pay the fee to put my house up on the MLS, pay somebody to take some nice pictures, right? Do that whole thing. And then literally put out there that, hey, if you bring your buyer, this is how much money I'm going to pay you. You can draw the contract up. You could damn near be dual agent at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, listen, I'll pay you 3%. Draw my contract up. Bring me a buyer. We lit. Because the buyer's agent can handle the whole transaction front to back.
Yeah.
Seller's agent, however, especially in the great state of Virginia, they can't dual agent. So they can't do what a buyer's agent is doing. Mm-hmm. So you literally are a commodity. You don't have to have a seller's agent.
Yeah, but there is marketing. There is who you get to do the pictures. There is access to the property.
What does the seller's agent have? Like, they don't have, like, if I want to sell my house, I can hire you to come do my pictures if I see that you do a nice job. True. What the seller's agent go do? They're not taking the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them are. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are.
Negotiations, due diligence, but you could hire an attorney. I hear you.
But the buyers, like,
the buyer
my
agent
thing
does
is, whoever's bringing me the money should be touching the bread.
Well, that's why with this decision, though, that could happen because if you build up your name and reputation as getting the deals done, as being the good representation for the buyers, you will be getting the deals and you'll get the listings.
I want your 6% now. I don't want the 3.
Get it.
I want the 6, and I want you to fire your seller's agent. You see what I'm saying? Or get him out of here. I want the whole thing. Give me my money. I'll do all of it for you. What you saying? You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that again, if you have a good seller's agent who markets your property appropriately, who's handling everything that they need to do on the back end, making sure things are in order, and making sure that, if you have to obtain the CO, the fire inspection, all that kind of good stuff like Miranda was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, just let's talk about that deal, right?
Oh, God.
I was a seller agent in that particular deal, me and you, and Miranda handled most of the stuff until she was like, "You go get this," and I'm like, "All right, bang, I got you." I'm a boom, boom. But I was sitting on the back end because it was like, well, what technically do I have to do? Everything is already there. Miranda's taking care of most of the technical stuff to get the stuff to the finish line. All I'm doing is pretty much saying, yeah, let me know when you're ready. You know
True. But that's because of the market, too.
If the market changed, what does
back
that look
in the
like?
day, it was a way more balanced. Like, the buyer had a say. Like, they weren't getting ran over the same way they are now. Yes, the listing agent's doing less work still, yes. But, like, with CO stuff, yeah, this buyer getting the CO stuff was not a thing. CO, certificate of occupancy. In New Jersey, you need a certificate of occupancy to sell the property or for a buyer to move into the property. So normally you got to get inspection and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't this bad for buyer's agents.
And now it is. And yet you cut us out by letting us know that, hey, we ain't going to tell you how much, if anything, you're going to get paid. So work that out with your buyer.
Yeah.
No, that's stupid.
I think that I'm excited for you guys because I think it's going to be messy, but as people that put a lot of time and effort with their clients and are building your reputations up, that the cream rises to the top.
I think that's the first thing I'm gonna say to my client. It's gonna get messy.
It's gonna be crazy.
I put a lot of time and effort with my
But
client.
but think about it,
We will
guys.
rise to the top.
If Danny Deals is handling his business with his buyer's agent, all these goofy people that don't really know what they're doing,
Yeah, get them up out of here.
So
Both sides of the ball.
guess what? You're gonna have all the people because there's gonna be less agents that they can't handle it.
Right.
So and then because so many people want to work with you, now you can leverage. Yo, I need a fee. I need, like if you want Danny Deals to get this house for you, write me I need a check. You see what I'm saying? So I see.
If we're
It's
putting
bad.
it on the
It's
buyer,
bad for the
yes.
buyer. I'm sorry. Yeah.
If we're putting it on the buyer, yes, but in this economy,
Yo,
in
you
this
gotta
market,
pay.
In this economy, you gotta pay to
Man,
sell your house.
that client was in Cancun talking about they don't got $1,000 to pay you. I saw you on vacation.
But $1,000 is not money. $1,000 means nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Who's buying a house for $120,000 on a typical transaction? That's not happening.
Well, no, I'm saying 1,000 retainer. Now getting the rest of it, yeah, that's
Just imagine you a lawyer, you get $1,000 retainer. What do you do when the person don't have the money? You stop representing them.
true.
Which is not good for our entire career. It's just not good.
That's the best point, and that's the thing that people that is going to happen for sure.
Absolutely. And then deals are going to fall apart.
And buyers are going to be more screwed than they are now.
And
I
then
agree with you.
And then lenders are going to feel it.
I agree with you with that. And a lot of people are going to stop using buyer's agents because they don't have it.
And then it's going to get real bad for sellers at that point. Because guess what? A seller's agent having to deal with a buyer and negotiating to protect the seller's best interest? Oh, my God. You might as well hang it up.
But the seller's interest at least will be protected. The buyer's interest, they're screwed. Like home inspection. Are they even going to know how to adhere to the timeline? Like, it's going to be really brutal. Title. Oh,
guess
my
what?
God.
You know what's going to happen? They going to get that house out of the contract. They're going to be so excited. They're going to go buy a car.
That's a bit of an inside.
Oh my God, he is crazy.
No one's gonna tell him.
They gonna go buy
No
a
one
car.
is gonna tell him.
Yo, they gonna go on that trip. They gonna run the credit cards up. They gonna like, I got my house. Let's get it.
Yeah.
And they ain't even signed the paper yet.
And they're gonna lose their escrow. Yeah. They're gonna lose some of that money that they might have saved. Yeah.
The loan officer's gonna be going up a storm. Just imagine. I don't want to put names out there, but just imagine. Just imagine having to deal with the actual client all the time as a lender.
Yeah. Because somebody's gonna have to do something. Because these people ain't gonna do it themselves. Most people.
That's the thing. Then maybe their goal is to slow down home buying.
Yeah.
I don't-
I'm thinking something.
I
They're
don't.
trying to make a seller's market forever.
I don't think that they looked at what the result was. I think they just looked at, is this an antitrust situation? They're like, well, it's gonna have to be what it's gonna have to be. It's America.
Hey man, you want to make it the Wild Wild West? Here we go.
I like. Hey, more freedom. Let's make it messy. We're gonna win.
That's the thing, though. Is it freedom?
Yeah,
You keep saying it's freedom. But
it's
how?
freedom. Freedom to negotiate and figure it out. It's not set. It's not a set thing.
It's never said.
True. But okay. So to the audience, were you able to follow what we're talking about? We were talking about like how this podcast was going to go, how people would understand. Did we explain enough things for everyone to follow along? What do you guys think? I'm curious what you guys think about the ruling and the conversation that we just had. If you're a buyer, what are you going to do? Like, what do you plan on doing? Would you pay $12,000 to be represented by an agent? What do you think is going to happen for agents? I would love to know what you guys think, what you're planning to do with buyer agency, listing agents, what you guys are going to do. Danny wants to fire y'all and take all your bread, so I don't know. But I would love feedback on this episode, so I would really, we all would appreciate it so that we can improve the show and make it more accessible for everybody, because we don't want to overtalk. We want even someone who's not even super interested in real estate to understand what we're talking about and gain some knowledge and some entertainment. But
best way to put it, they're trying to post a job without the salary.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That is what it is. I hate that.
And you hate those jobs. You're like, you know what? I'm not even going to apply to that one.
Hell yeah. You go to the interview and they offering $15 an hour. Like, why am I here?
The hell am I doing?
But
That's a good analogy.
that's the podcast. Peace out, guys. Appreciate y'all.
See ya.